All right, so welcome everyone to the Ace of Hearts drawing. This is a very realistic drawing. Um, I hope you enjoy this one. We haven't done a drawing one for a while like this, and I'm thinking of adding more of these in the summer with a little pop of color. Um, I'm using a 9 by 12 inch piece of drawing paper. You're welcome to use an 8.5 by 11 computer paper using a number 2 pencil. You can use a 2B as in boy. And then if you have any other drawing pencils like a 4B or a 6B will do very well too for the darker areas like the hearts and the aces, and then in some of the darker areas it'll help you out, but it's not necessary. We can do everything with the number 2 pencil. Oh yes, close up for the picture, absolutely. Let me do that now, actually. Oh, we have another person coming in. Here, welcome. Oh, you said so cool, sorry. Thank you. This was a fun one. I actually got this idea from a class that I taught last year, a homeschool class. And some boys had brought in, you're welcome. Some boys had brought in some playing cards and they wanted to draw the playing cards. And then we did that. And one of them had kind of crumpled it. And I thought that looked pretty neat too. But um, that's where I got it from. So, anyway. So what we're going to do is, as always, we're going to be drawing lightly. I always draw darker so you can see it. This is being recorded, and I just realized I think there are a few new people on here, so I should probably do a proper introduction. My name is Anita Thompson, and I own Art Venture Workshops, a mobile-based art business where I teach all ages drawing, painting, watercolor, fun stuff. So I'm so happy that you're here this evening. So we're going to get started here. I'm going to move my paper. The other thing is, as I mentioned, this is being recorded, so I will release this to Sabrina of Warminster Library, who I also want to thank for sponsoring this program. Um, and then it will be released on my YouTube channel, probably in like a month or so. I mean, I have it up there privately, and you'll be sent the link, but then it goes public in about a month after being up there. And welcome, Helen. We're just getting started here. All right, so we are going to start to draw the shape of the card. We're going to do the outside shape. Oops, sorry about that. I have to get this a little better angled, and I think I'm going to move this up a little bit. Okay, so basically getting the outside shape of that card. So obviously it's a bit of a rectangle with some cuts in it. So we're going to do that. We're going to take our time. This is a very detailed drawing, and I'm so happy that you all are doing this. I can't wait to see what these look like. I think they're going to look really amazing. So starting up at the top, as you can see, it's pretty much the full length of the paper. And so a little bit, I should say, probably about 1.5 inches from the top, we're going to start. So we're going to start on the left-hand side here. And you can see that that corner is a bit rounded. We're going to start up at the top and go straight across. Let me just move my camera one more time. And it's not really a straight line. It starts to sort of go down just a little bit. So we're right here, and we're now going to go all the way over, and we have the curling over of the card. So if you want, you can make that right now as well. That is a triangular shape. And it's bent back just like that. So remember, you're drawing lightly in case you want to correct anything at this point, or afterward, I should say. All right, so now we're going to come over here on the left side. So basically what we're going to do, again, you can see that the card is slightly at an angle. Not, I mean, it's down, but you can see this part at the top is slightly angled. So we're going to start off from there. We do have a bit of a crease here. And what we're going to do is we're going to lightly put in some of these creases. So here is the crease at the top where our ace sits. Now you can see that that's a line. It eventually won't be as much of a line. We're going to continue downward. And I'm going to point where we are at. And so again, I'm going to add another line. Again, just reminding you that these are light lines. We go inward and then outward. Okay, so we're staying all along this left side. So we are right here. You can make a little bit of a line there. And then we're going to go downward, but we're going to go inward a little bit to a point and then in. So that's here. You can also make a little bit of a line right here. And it should start looking like crumpled paper. It's at least giving you an idea of where to go, and we will continue to, change it if we need to. All right, so we're still here on the left side. We're now curving downward. We're going to go in a little bit and then go outward for the corner, the bottom left corner of the card, like so. And then we're going to now continue across the bottom. So across the bottom, what we see is we go for a bit, there's a bump and then an indent. We go back out. Basically, we go in and out twice. There are two main crinkles right here. So let's get started with that. So here we are over here. We're going to go straight across. Remember, a crinkle slightly. We go outward again. We go inward slightly. We go towards our corner of our paper. And then we come to a slight curved point right here. I'm going to make mine a little more pointy. And then we go upward and curve. I'm going to kind of move this up like this. All right, we're going to start now with the other side. So same thing. We have it folded over. It goes straight and then it bumps quite a few times. Right here, inward, outward, inward, outward, inward, outward. All right, so we're going to start here at the top. And actually, I'm realizing I've got to move mine a little bit further out. So I'm going to make mine a little further outward here. All right, and now we go downward. We are curving, going in, out again, curving, and then we're meeting up with our other curve there. Now you can take time to kind of even everything out. You know, we're going to be softening a lot of our lines, and then we'll be adding darker lines. Let me erase my original one there. So once you have all of that, again, you want to just kind of take a look and see if anything needs to be changed. Maybe you need some more pointy areas, or maybe it's okay the way it is. But we now want to start adding in those lines that are going to help us where everything is. So we started off doing that here on the left, but we're going to now continue to do that over here. So our A is going to be over here, and we want to add a line about right here going across. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a crinkle coming from this line and going upward towards the card, the top of it. So let's do that now. And again, you want to make sure this line is light. All of your lines should be light right now. I have to adjust my curve over here. Basically, this should be coming to sort of a point like that. So I had to kind of fix that on mine. So again, all of these lines are very light right now. They're darker on mine. All right, we're gonna now continue over here. We're right across, staying right at the top. Okay, and we have another crease, and this crease is gonna start here, and it's gonna go diagonal till about, let's see, where are we? Till about right here. So we're gonna make kind of a shape from here. It's gonna go like this, and then go all the way up and meet up with that top curve. Oh, nice, Michael. Oh my gosh, you got a lot happening already. I love it. I love it. So cool.
I love the story of how this originated with the kids and the cards. That's just a great backstory.
Oh, thank you. I thought to myself, why have I never thought to draw a playing card? You know? It's so great. Kids come up with the best ideas.
True.
Yeah. And especially, you know, it's hard, I think, especially for I think it's especially hard for kids as they're getting older to get interested in drawing certain things. And this really, like, they were just really into it. I thought that was so cool. So we've got that line over here. We're going to continue with that shape. So you can see, so this is, you know, you can see how light these lines are. But I'm drawing them so that they look like actual lines for right now. So we're going to curve that, and we're going to continue to be about right here. And we're actually going to start drawing in or sketching in very, very lightly our aces and our hearts before we continue. So we've got the first part down. We're going to come back up to the left top corner here, and we're going to make our A. So I'm just going to show you this up close. So basically, you see that there is sort of a ripple effect happening about right here where the A, where the crease is. And if you were to take a playing card right now and do the same thing, what would happen is you wouldn't see that the line for the ace is straight. It looks sort of straight, but not really. There's just a very slight, it's moving over to the left on the bottom, and that's because the card is bent. So we're going to do that. I'm going to leave it right here and go closer. And so we're going to start off, and we're going to make it more like a line drawing at first. So our A, if we look at our crinkle, here's our crinkle. Let's add the part in the A that goes across. And then we're going to add the other two sides. I have to make mine a little bit more to the right, sorry. I just realized. There we go. A little bit more. And to make it a little bit shorter. And then once you have that done, you can slightly fill in just a little bit of that A. I'm just moving some of my crinkle here a little bit. And we will go over this more later on, but we just want to kind of get some placement of that A. And then right underneath, we're going to create the heart. And it's slightly angled. It's not completely straight up and down. You can even quickly fill it in very lightly. And we'll go back later on and make it darker. But we just want to sort of get the idea that that heart is right over there. Okay, so we are also going to go to the opposite corner now, and we're going to create that A and hearts. So we're going to come down to this corner, and we have to also create a wrinkle. So here is the corner of the card. The wrinkle is coming in about right here. And it's curving around like that. We have another wrinkle as well, kind of a shadow that's right next to it, shaped like this. You know, again, just a reminder, these are all just lines right now. All right, we're going to make our next A upside down. Oh, it has to be a little thinner. And again, make sure that the bottom portions of your A are a little fancier. And you're going to draw another heart. Now, if this is easier for you to turn your paper, oh, I need to make it a little bit closer, to turn your paper around, upside down, in order to make this drawing that's more helpful for you, you can. And you're going to do the same thing and fill in the heart as well. But again, right now we're just filling it in rather lightly. For right now. And it should already start to be looking like a playing card. Okay, so I'm just refixing some of my lines a little bit. Here we go. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to continue with creating some of those lines for the crinkles. I'm going to go a little closer here. So we basically have this line, and we are going to draw the heart, the center heart, before we start on anything else. So we're going to start right in the crease. With most of the heart in this section. I have to fix my crease a little bit. And this is where, you know, you'll see where you might need to adjust things. There's the heart, and I have to adjust my wrinkle to go out a little bit and go a little closer towards the center of my heart. So I just fixed that. And what we're going to do for this heart is basically you can see that there are crinkles that are here and here, but they're white because the card is crinkled. And so it's showing the inside of the card, sort of the inner layer. So now what you want to do is you want to fill in around those two spots with your shading. And here again, we're not worried that it's a darker black right now. we just want to kind of fill in around those two spots so that we know later on we'll be going back to it and making it darker. Make sure you outline your heart. Okay. All right, so we're going to continue on with adding some more wrinkles. So, just erase this one part on my drawing here. Sorry, I feel like I have something underneath my paper. No. Okay. So, coming back up to the top here, right? These are all wrinkles. We're going to add another wrinkle in here. See where we're at here? There's that wrinkle. We're going to come over to the right side where our card is bending, right? The top right. And we're going to, again, make these lines for now. So it's going to be kind of like a soft triangle, a soft side triangle. It's going to go like this. And then we're going to kind of make almost like an outline of it. And remember, these lines are very light because we're going to be smoothing these out. So with that, we also have another kind of a V shape here, right? So we're going to come over here to the right and we're going to make a line coming out. So I'm pointing to where we are. It's actually this line in here. And then again, we're going to make another line on right next to it. And we're going to curve that. And this line is going to curve all the way to the right side. So I'll repeat that again. This is the line that we're going to create right now. It's going to come around, indent, and then curve back. So we started doing that here, curve. And basically it's going to end up about right here. There's a bump, right, in the card. It's right here. And there's your line right underneath it. Sorry, I had to move that. I just realized I moved that a little bit too much out of the camera space. Okay, we've got another line here. So we're going to come up to this curve about halfway in it. And we're going to make a curve line. These are all going to help us with making our shadowing. So I know it seems really strange that we're using lines right now, but again, these should be very light lines so that we can, make these shadows. All right, so continuing on here, we're going to stay about right here, but we're going to come up to the heart here, and we have a line of shadow that's coming out, curving outside of the heart, kind of continuing the crinkle because that's what's happening there. But this time, this crinkle is going to be dark. And then we're going to continue right near that. And we've got this line, in a sense, that crease, I should say, that goes like this. So we're going to go towards the bottom right corner, but we're going to kind of boomerang and then kind of come down to the card at the bottom like that. Okay. And then we're going to skip to the bottom left corner. And we have a crease that's happening from the corner. It's going to go up like this. So here's our corner. And our curve is going to go up towards this section. So just like that. Now we come back over here and we create kind of a roundish line right here. And then there's a crinkle at the bottom of it, although it's a little bit closer towards this bend in the card. And this is the line I'm talking about. So it curves, goes up, and then goes toward this line right here. So again, it curves, starts to go upward, bends a little bit, and goes up. Okay, and then we've got, let's see, we've got one more that we're really going to focus on and add in. This bottom part over here is going to be very light. And so basically, we're going to have that. Actually, I got to move this line a little bit over, meaning my line over a little bit, because it's actually falling in between here and here. And here at the bottom, we're going to create kind of a shape that's going to look like this. So I just drew these two. And again, very light, even though it looks dark on my paper. We do have a few more crinkles before we get to our shading. But we're getting there. And then after, basically what we're doing is we're putting in like our mountains and our peaks kind of on this card. Then we get to shade and lighten everything and get a little darker in spots. But we're putting in the basics right now. I always say it's like a map. We have to follow where all of this goes, but we've got to map it out first. Okay, so we are going to now come back towards the heart. We're just going to add right at the top of the heart, we're just going to add a very light curved line that goes like this. And then we're going to come to the left part of the drawing. And we're just going to add a few more lines before we start lightening up all of our lines. So we're going to come over here and we're going to make another line like so. Kind of little curvy right there. And I'm sorry, actually this line should come down to this point. So sorry about that. This line should come down to this point right here. And then we're going to follow it down to this part, but go down a little bit because we're now going to create this line right here. So that's the card. Again, crinkling. It's almost like a step. And it's going to go right toward this area. So here again, I went here, went down, over, and then down towards this line. And then we're going to need our tortillon or whatever you're using to lighten up your lines. So the other thing is, if you have drawn your lines where they're dark like mine, you do want to lighten them a little bit. So you can see what I'm doing is I am lightening up my lines that I drew using my kneaded eraser. And just want to smooth out some of that graphite so that it's light. You can see that happening online right now. And then we're going to take our tortillon and we're literally going to be smoothing out all around our card. So I'll repeat that. What we're doing is we are softening the lines that we just drew, and you want to stay on the inside lines of your card. So as we're going around, you want to make sure that you are trying to stay inside the lines, the outer line of your card. We may still have to clean it up with an eraser, but try your best to kind of stay on the inside. So we are basically going all around the card along the edge. We're also going to be doing the same to all of the other lines we've created, but we are softening up all of those lines. And when you're finished with softening up the lines on the outside, you're going to soften up everything else on the inside, meaning even like your A and your hearts, or I should say both A's and your hearts, and the lines on the inside. So we'll take a little bit of time to do that. Right now, we're just softening them up by running, our tortillon or whatever you have on top of everything. We will be adding more lines next to them. But for now, we're just softening everything up. And just by doing this, it should already start to even look like a bit of a crinkled card. But adding in our shadows, our light shadows, and then our darker shadows are really going to make this pop. So remember, we are just softening up all of our lines by taking our tortillon and just making everything a bit blurred. Okay. We are going to start with our shading. And basically what we're going to do is your pencil is better used at this point without a really good point. You want it to be a little blunt. So you don't have to sharpen it. Now, if you don't have much of it left, you want to sharpen it. But what you want to do is maybe on the side, another piece of paper, you can use your pencil on the side to kind of go like this, because that's what we're going to be doing with our shading. And we're going to be using it very lightly at first. So I'm going to show the original here. So basically, what we're going to be doing is we're going to come up to the corner, and basically we're going to be making all of these marks with our pencil for now, and then we'll be kind of rubbing them to make them lighter. So we're going to start here up at the top. We're going to start in this crinkle. And I'm going to go closer to the paper so you can really see what's going on. So let me flip this around. All right, so here's our corner, and we're going to start adding. So as you can see, I'm not using the tip of it too much. I'm kind of using it on the side, and I'm just adding some shading with my pencil. And then I'm going to go into the crinkle here, to the left of it. And I'm also going to shade very lightly, going down next to the A. So we just went from here to here using our pencil. And we're going to do that at first. And then we'll go back, we'll smooth things. And then we'll go back the third time and add a little bit darker and then even darker tones. Okay, so continuing on, we're still creating light shaded lines. We're going to stay on the left side here. So going right underneath the A, we're going to make a little bit more of a shaded line, and then we're going to fill it in like so. And that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be adding some more shaded lines, and we're going to fill them in. So we're going to go all the way down the left side of our playing card. So here we are over here, and we're going to add a little bit of a curved line and then shade it in. And we'll do the same on the other side. All right. We are now going to continue down. And now we're going to make another kind of shape over here that's very light. So it's going to look like this. And you're going to leave some space in between here and here. And then you're going to shade in very quickly and lightly this area. Now don't worry about getting the whole area covered, because we're going to go back later on and we're going to use our tortillon to kind of fade that. All right, continuing on, we have this shape here. So this shape, again, we're going to kind of draw it. Remember, all these lines are light, and then you're going to shade inside of it. So look at these things as shapes. You know, look at that it kind of has some edges, it has a shape to it, and try to replicate that as you are using your pencil to the best of your ability. So now we have this shape, right? And there's a white space in between, but we're going to draw this shape. So it's going to kind of start up here. And again, I'm making it darker so you can see it, but it really shouldn't look too much like a line. And then you're going to shade it in. Now, if it does look like a line, that's okay, because we can go back and we can lighten it. Okay, now this whole section, we have another white line because of the crease right here. But what we're going to do is we're going to go right underneath the crease, and we're just going to make a line that goes like this, and we're going to shade in that whole section. And then we're going to concentrate around this section. We're going to make a shape like this and lightly shade that in. Now, again, as you can see, I'm not really worried about shading in the entire shape, right? So it's okay that it looks like that because we're going to go back and we're going to smooth it out. And then we're going to add darker spots even to that shape. But even just having it like this, it should start to look like it's getting crinkled, which is pretty cool. All right, so we're now going to go down the middle of our card, starting up here. We're going to add a little bit of shading here and here.
Nita, you need to bring your paper down. We can't see the top.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Sorry about that.
She sounded like a chowderhead. Is she from Boston?
I don't know.
I'm a New Yorker.
I love it.
Gotcha.
I was told I had a Brooklyn accent, but I don't know where that came from.
I love it. Okay, so we are coming over here. See this little kind of triangular shape here? Make that triangular shape and fill it in. And we're going to make another shape. We're going to come to the right of this. And we're going to kind of outline that shape like this. And then we're going to leave a little bit of a white space here. And you're going to move a line upward from that. So I'll say that again. We just created this shape here. You can fill that in. And we left, let me erase that so that it's not shaded. We went up with a line and we stopped up there, but that's going to be the white of the paper. But we wanted to indicate that. And then we're going to now come over here for now in this area. So this whole section here. And for now, we're just going to shade that entire section lightly. All right, so this entire section, you're just going to shade lightly the entire section for now. It's okay if it's a bit uneven. Like I said, we'll go back and we will create parts that are a little darker. Okay. we're going to come down over here and we're also going to lightly shade in. Remember those spots that we created? You're going to lightly shade those in too. And I'm pointing to where we just shaded. We're going to go right above towards this line and create sort of another triangular shape. But when we shade, we're going to start over at this line and we're going to shade, but we're not going to go all the way to the left side of the triangle so that there's a bit of white that's left over. And I'm going to point to that. So see, there's this white space here, the white of the paper. And we're going to start moving over to this section up top. So starting at the top, see this section here, we are going to lightly shade the top portion of this section. So just right here. So you see where, there's a line here. You're just going to shade the top portion of that sort of triangular area. And then we're going to jump over to this side and we're going to shade kind of in line with around that kind of triangular area, like so. And then we're also going to shade in this area. So we're going to go right up against the line and kind of shade a little next to it, but on the inside. And then we're going to shade again at the top, but we kind of make like a little bit of a line here too with our shading. So I'm kind of pointing to that area that we just shaded in. And we're going to do the same thing in this area. So we're going to shade a little bit underneath, and then when it gets to the corner, we shade a little bit, but we come down like this. So we're getting there with our shading. We're going to come now over in this section and we're going to shade, but we're going to add a little bit of a light line right here. The reason is we're going to shade from here to that line. And again, that line should be very light. So starting here, thanks, June. I can't wait to see it. So you're going to shade that. And then we're going to come underneath and we're going to shade a little bit like that. So we're basically going to skip this sort of bump, but then we're going to shade again like this, kind of on top of this bump. So we're staying in this area, and then we're going to shade again, a little bit in this area. And then we're going to finally come to this section and we're going to create one more shape. So basically, we're going to take a line and make it diagonal coming from here. And then do the same over here, and we're going to shade in that area. Again, very lightly. And then the final part that we're going to shade for right now is going to be in this corner. Like so. And then it's tortillon time. So we're going to soften everything up again. So we're going to start back up in the top left corner. And we're going to start softening up the shading on the left. And then toward the A, kind of go a little bit toward the center. So we just did this part here. And then we're going to take our tortillon and we're now going to shade. We're going to stay along the edge, the left edge, and we're going to smooth out all of the lines and the shading that we just created. So you're going to now go into the shapes that we created, and you want to smooth out the shading and fill in those spots. We're staying on the left side for now. Basically, there's a lot of smoothing that's happening. You want to stay within those shapes for right now. But basically, you're smoothing everything out. So this will take a while. And obviously, when you complete the ones down on the left, you can start to work towards the middle. You can even smooth out or blend a little bit of the hearts using your tortillon. At this point, just take your time. You're just smoothing everything out. They don't have to be perfectly smooth, but just do your best. We are going to go back and add some darker areas. You also want to take the time to smooth out any lines that we've already drawn inside your card. So remember, you want to shade all the spots that we've added pencil to, but you don't want to go beyond that yet. We will be going beyond that in the next few minutes, but first we just want to blend everything. This is going to give you sort of an even middle tone to your drawing. And then we're going to add the lighter tone by extending some of that shading with our tortillon. And then we're going to finally add the darker spots by going a little darker in certain sections with our pencil. And then we will have a realistic card drawing. Okay, so our next step is going to be darkening up our aces and our hearts. So our ace in the top left corner, we're going to go a bit darker by pressing on our pencil. And I'm going to go even closer here. So remember, there's a bit of a spot of this that is crinkled. So we're going to make that A, the bottom, oops. There we go. My camera was fuzzing up a little bit. There we go. We're going to make this part dark, but I'm going to add a little bit of a step to it where it's coming out just a little bit. And we want to redraw a little bit of the crinkle going upward. And add a little bit of shading. And then we're going to darken up the rest of the A. And also making sure that we darken up the heart. So this is where your number 4B or 6B pencil would come in to make it dark. But if not, just use your 2 pencil, your number 2, and you're just going to color it until it's nice and dark. And you're going to fill that in till it's black. And you're going to do the same to the heart in the middle. So remember, there is some lines there, the white of the paper, that you want to make sure that you don't fill in as you are coloring in the sections of the heart. So you can outline each of those sections again and color those in. All right, and you're going to do the same to the ace and the heart at the bottom right corner of your card. Now we're going to start adding some lighter shading to some of the white parts of the card. And you're going to be using your tortillon, and it should already have some of the pencil on it. And that's what you're going to use for lightening up very lightly. You're going to start pressing. We're going to come up at the top here. And you're going to very lightly start to bring out some of that shading into the white area of the card, right on top of the where your A is. And then the same, you're going to shade around that spot, that kind of triangular spot. And you're going to take some of that shading and make another light triangle above it. So do you see that? It's like a light triangle right above it. And you're going to soften up that line again. And then you're going to bring in some more shading to the left of the heart, going towards this corner here. And you're, again, I'm taking some of that shading and just very lightly shading a little bit into the white of the card, but not the whole thing. I'm going around the heart in that section. And we're going to do the same in this section here, except we're going to fill that entire spot. So we're working again down on the left. Remember, we shaded here. We're going to shade a little more, bring out some of this shading, and we're going to shade into the white of the card, but right across from it. And we're going to create kind of another triangle with the shading. Now, if you can't get that with your tortillon only, you can very lightly draw in a triangle like that and then shade it inside. And you can do that for all of these spots. If you can't get that shape with just using your tortillon, you can just redraw that shape or draw that shape in. We're going to still soften up the line here, the shading here. And then shade right on top of it, bringing that shading down into this section so that it's an even lighter shaded section. Here again, if it's too light for you, you can add a little more shading using your pencil. All right, we're staying here. We're going to shade again to make it a little more even in this area. And then we're going to shade a little bit in the corner. And we're also going to add some smoothed out shading from this triangular area here. You see how I'm shading, but I'm bringing out that shading just a little bit more, like in this area. We're also going to just jump up here and just smooth out this line here. And you can add a little shading right next to it by just smoothing out that line and just adding a little shading to the white right next to where you created that line. And what's going to start to happen is you're going to now start to look, and it's going to seem like your card is starting to bend back and forth. We're staying now down here, and with some of this shading on our pencil, we're going to shade to the right of this curved line. Here again, if you don't have enough on here, you want to take your pencil and just very lightly add a little bit of some shading with the side of your pencil. But it should be very light. And you're going to do the same. You're going to shade again right next to it in that section that we created with the oval on top and the space over here. You're going to shade that. And then you're going to shade to the right side next to it, but up against this line, so that you're bringing out the shading on this side. And you can go a little bit into that whole area of white. You can bring that shading out. And we're going to jump back up to the top of the card. So we probably have about 6 more minutes of this, if you're still okay with that, because we're going to finish up adding in some of the light parts, and then we're going to add just a few dark spots on top of the medium shaded parts, just to kind of give you an idea. So we're coming up here. We shaded this already, but now we're going to bring in the bottom part of that shading into the white of the card. So basically what we're doing is we're creating a lighter area of shading by doing that. We're going to do the same, and we're now going to shade in the entire part over here in the white of the card, but we're especially going to now go towards that area where we started to shade, and we're going to smooth out that line so it looks like it's blending a little more. The way that you get it to blend more is to just kind of put your tortillon on top of it, and you now almost have like a gradient. Now we're going to do the same thing with this area where we shade on top, and then we're going to bring out the bottom of that shading with our tortillon. We're going to go into the white of the card, but we're going to stay kind of to the right so that we're still leaving some of the white of the card. And we're going to continue down the right side of that card. Well, it's kind of like the right middle. And we're going to go all the way down with our shading. Except when we get to where the heart is, we shade a little bit more right next to where the heart is and even around it. And our other parts of shading are now going to be in this section. So we've shaded this part. You want to shade it a little more and then go into the white area. Bring your shading into there, and the same down this whole section. Basically going into the white part of the card and adding another very light shading using your tortillon. And then we've got one more spot before we add the darker areas. And that's up here. And you're going to shade at the top and coming down toward where this line is. And then smoothing out this triangular area. Oh, Michael, that looks amazing. Wow. Very awesome. Incredible. Let's see if I can.
I have to say to the class very quickly, Anita, there's this guy Isaacson. He's written a couple of books, one on Steve Jobs, one on Einstein, one on Ben Franklin.
Yeah.
He also wrote this fantastic book on Leonardo da Vinci,
Ooh.
and it goes into great details about shading and hatching and cross hatching and some Italian word that I can't quite pronounce called sfumato, which is the blending and shading. I would just recommend this book. Isaacson, Leonardo da Vinci, just incredible. And it basically touches on a lot of the things you've been saying the last couple of years in your classes.
Oh, wow. The last name's Isaacson?
Yeah, he put out a number of books. One was on Steve Jobs, one was on Einstein, one was on Ben
Oh,
Franklin. But it's the one that it really captured my imagination because I've been fueled by, Anita Power, uh, is this book
sweet.
about Leonardo da Vinci, which I highly recommend to the class because it talks about him being an artist and going through phases of drawing and different things he did and looking
Yeah.
at muscle groups of humans and just how he
Yeah.
did things. But a lot of the things you've been doing in your class are in this book. It's a really very, very well read, very well written. It's a good read.
Oh, wow. I'm gonna look him up and then I will post it in the newsletter. Isaacson. Very cool. Thank you for that recommendation. I love book recommendations. Book recommendations, podcasts, whatever you guys have, I'll take it. Love information. So our last part is now going to be darkening up some of the sections. Thank you, Michael, for that, by the way. That is awesome. It's good to know I might be a little on track. It's always interesting. What I love reading about how other artists go about their um, how they do things. You can learn so much. And
Yeah,
Leonardo da Vinci.
you're definitely on track. You have the Anita Power.
Thanks, Michael. I try. But Leonardo da Vinci was just absolutely amazing. Um, just incredible. If you can get your hands on books about him too. He really was a Renaissance man. He was a scientist. And the way he dealt with things was he wanted to get to the bottom of things. He wanted to figure out how they worked. And it it bode him well in art, and it does for all of us. If you're curious how things work and you come at it with a sort of a scientific mind, like, how does this work? How do these muscle groups connect? How do these, which shape is that? How did they get those colors? It's really science. It's pretty cool. But getting back to this, we're going to add some dark spots here. And we're going to start off at the top in this sort of pointed section, and we're just going to add a little bit of dark shading here, just right on top. These are just things to now make it stand out. We're also going to go here to the left, and we're going to add a little bit of a dark outline, just a little bit of an outline, and then you're going to shade in this corner because it's crinkling up. So you're going to shade in this section, and then also as it crinkles, it gets a little bit darker. And then a little bit going downward. So see what that does for that area. We're going to add a few more of these. Like, we're going to come over here and just do an outline. This section, a little bit of an outline with a little bit of a darker line and a little bit of shading above it. Because again, that is crinkling up, and you see the difference that adds to your piece. We're going to come here and add a little bit of some dark shading, kind of like going over that line. And then in the corner here, Just going right on top and just adding a little bit of some dark right there. We're going to go all around here, but we're just going to add another little bit of a dark outline here. Until we get to the corner here, where we make this line around it a little bit darker outside of the card till about right here. And then we're going to add some darker shading right here in that crease. And we're going to make it extend just a little bit into the white of the card. And then add a little bit more in a line right here. We're going to add a little bit dark here. So now we're going around the outside of the card. We're skipping some spots and just adding just a little bit of dark in some areas. Here's one where it bends. And now all along this side, but then we're going to go right underneath where the card is flipping over. And you add a little bit of dark right up here for the shadow. And we extend the shadow a bit by just adding some darker shading. We have another spot right here in the corner. And so I'm just going right on top, even with just some messy shading. Like that. And then our final few spots are going to be in this section. But up here, where we add a little bit of dark, going all the way down that line. And it's kind of a real quick shading. It's just a little bit of some dark going all the way down. And we get to that bottom, and we're going to add another crinkle with some more shading. And then two more last spots. Right here in the middle. We make it a little darker, and we're going to just add a little bit of a little spot of shading right there. And we're just going to end up in this little triangular area where we add a little bit more of shading and with one little slice of some quick shading right there. You can make some other areas a little bit dark, you know, by going back in and just taking your pencil, like right here, this and here, and just making it a little bit darker with your pencil. But other than that, I am so curious to see what these look like. So I'm going to stop the recording here.